Welcome to OutSolve's Weekly Outlook, where we bring you the latest news that impacts your workplace. I'm Meghan Spera, joined again by Jeremy Mancheski. Jeremy, what's new this week?
Well, you might recall last week we filmed this twice because there was so much going on, and it was coming at us fast and furious. This week we're going to take a small step back. There aren't the blockbusters that we had last week, but still some good information and still an opportunity to take a solid look at where we are right now. First of all, important, President Trump has renominated Andrea Lucas as to the EEOC, and her role continues to be in this administration, as they say, rooting out unlawful DEI motivated race and sex discrimination. So here we are, art imitating life, I guess. We have this concept of illegal DEI, and remember, we're still thinking there's going to be some sort of certification vehicle coming forward for us, and we're hoping that comes soon, as was promised in Executive Order 14173. But for now, we know EEOC still has, as they say, quorum issues. In other words, they don't have a full set of commissioners there. In fact, there's a very unprecedented removal of two Democrat-leaning commissioners. So right now, that lack of quorum does not allow EEOC to make significant policy shifts. What does that mean for the listener here? We don't know what's going to happen with the EEO-1 form. Not sure if they will be submitted this year. Not sure if they won't, and that's typically at EEOC's election. Now, we have what amounts to a 40-plus year unbroken line of EEO-1s. So whether the EEO-1s are collected this year or not, I would recommend preserving that data one way or another. We saw this back in the first Trump administration related to EEO-1 component 2. Didn't collect, determined that was unlawful, came back and collected at another date and had to do 2 years in one, as you might recall. So regardless, whether the EEO-1s are collected this year or not, I would recommend preserving that data file necessary to complete your EEO-1. Back to rooting out unlawful DEI. This remains a double-edged sword. Some of our customers are seeing certification forms, the injunction. Some of our customers are seeing these certification forms, and of course we don't know what the ultimate certification process will be, a uniform certification process. So if we're trying to root out illegal DEI and certify, the phrase I continue to use is certification requires analysis. So remember that. Certification requires analysis. So if we're trying to root out illegal DEI, let's analyze, do we have illegal DEI? My next point for this week, and really my final point, John Fox, a contributor for OutSolve, has written an article. And you can see it on our blog. It's very important, very well written, and very timely. But the first, all efforts that you've done that are formerly considered DEI, not all efforts are necessarily illegal, okay? We just have to make sure there's a legitimate, non-discriminatory reason for the effort you're taking. We can help with that. Second, scrub for DEI. Take a solid look. I've spoken with many large clients, and all the well-intentioned DEI that the companies have undertaken over the last years, decades even, you might be surprised that some of those efforts go beyond the corporate office. For instance, you may have been training talent acquisition staff for a long period of time. And maybe they're not as up to date. Doing a solid scrub of what's being done at your company related to DEI, it might extend well beyond the head of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It might extend to talent acquisition. It might extend to even job postings. And the final, I say it again, certification requires analysis. Be sure not to turn off any of those firewalls you have, data collection, et cetera, that you're doing to ensure a non-discriminatory workforce, because ultimately that's what you're certifying.
Absolutely. Well, for additional resources related to these weekly Outlook topics, please join our HR Gumbo City community, where you can ask questions, engage in active discussions, and find helpful tools. So you can visit outsolve.com/HRG-city to join today. And on April 2nd, we're going to have a webinar on strategies for pay transparency and compensation. You can register at outsolve.com/events. And finally, we also have a new podcast on the pay transparency revolution. You can listen at outsolve.com/resources. So thanks so much for your insights this week, Jeremy. We'll catch up with you next week.